Hello world, my name is David Oze, and in this channel we talk about how to create and integrate APIs so you can improve your existing applications. Today we're going to look at how to integrate our DummyJSON API inside a front-end application so we can, you know, have access to the same data, users, and all that we had access to using Postman. And to do that, we're going to use the Axios library. And this is not the only alternative. We can also use the fetch library, which is a built-in library that we have, in the browser. And to install Axios before using it, we need to, use this command npm install Axios or Bower or Yarn. If you're using any of the JavaScript frameworks like React or Vue, and in our case, we're just going to make use of this file here, script, it's a CDN inside our HTML file. So I'm going to switch to VS Code and paste this so we can get things started. We have a very basic HTML file here, just an H1, a paragraph, and a container in which we will be displaying our data. So I've already pasted this Axios script, and we also need another script file, which we're going to create in a minute. I just want to explain what we are intending to do here. We just want to create a paragraph for each user, and we're going to display the first name of the user and then the last name. So we want to do it dynamically inside the script file. And this is going to happen once we will make a request to the dummy JSON using our Axios library. So without any further delay, let's create our script file. So I'm just going to create a new file here, script.js. And in here, we need to grab the container, first of all, and then we will need to make the Axios request to get data. So this is all we need to do. And to grab the container, we just need to create some variable. So this is going to be the container. We simply need to do document get element by ID and just grab our container. So how do we then get data using Axios? So let's go back to the documentation and find out. Back to the documentation here, we can click on Axios API and just look at the syntax here. So to make a GET request, we need this Axios, which is already it's imported inside our project. And the method is going to be GET. We should provide the URL as well and some response type, and then to get the response and do whatever we want to do with the response. So I'm just going to copy this and bring it back inside our code. And for the URL, we actually need to go back to the DummyJSON API documentation and grab the correct URL. So back to the documentation here. Remember, we had to scroll down to users and then just have this URL here, dummyjson.com/users. And we need that to be pasted here. For the response type, we may not need to specify that, so that's not really important for now. Inside the then, we can just console log the response and check out what we have inside the console. So let's just do a quick console log. I'm gonna save that and check this out in the browser. Make sure to save this as well. And I'm actually using the the live server to run this. So in case you don't have the live server, you can just, go inside the extension and just search live server and make sure to install that so you can have that shortcut down here to just, get your server up and running. So our server is running, we can just open the browser and have access to our page. So I'm going to press Ctrl Shift I in order to open the console. And I have some objects here I can also check the config or the data. And as we can see, we have our users and all the users, just like we had them inside Postman. And there is something I want us to check together. We can go to the network tab and see what's happening here. And remember, we need to refresh the page. And we have some index HTML. So these are files which are downloaded by the browser, but we are most interested by these users. You can always check the icon to know uh, what is the request in the list here. And we are going to check the response, and we have our formatted response right here. And this is being made by Axios onto DummyJSON to get all the users' data. And we can, check the headers to see that we have a 200. Okay, we have our get method, and we have the same endpoint that we're using in our code. So this is working pretty fine. We have the console also to check how the data is looking like. But we don't want all this information. We're more interested in the users. So to get to the users, we may need to do some dot data then dot users. So let's work on it. Back to the script file, we need to, let's say, we want to create a data or users variable. And then inside users, we want the response to grab the data, then grab users. And again, we are just gonna console log users to check this out. Back to the browser, we can see that we have the list of our users well formatted. So now we have an array having 30 users, 30 items in it, and we can see that each item has an ID. So we can map through this array in order to get the first name, last name, and any data that we want to have access to. So something that I want to mention, it's very important to always check, the spelling of your keywords here. Like first name here, we can see that it's camel case, and it's important because we may make a mistake and we will not be able to grab the right information. So always good to pay attention to that. Instead of console log, we need to create some logic in which we're going to populate this container. So to do that, let's map through the list of users. Since it's an array, we can call our method dot map, and then for each user, this is what we want to do. We want to create a paragraph first, or let's say even an h4 element, doesn't matter. So document dot create element, and in this case we want that element to be a h4. And next, we want to add some data inside the h4, which can be the text content is equal to our user. So for each user, we can now have access to the first name. So we can do this, concatenate with some space in between, and then add our user dot last name. All right, so the last thing that we need to do is to add inside our container using the append child method to add this child inside the container. So let it be a h4 as the variable says. Then we can give it a try. And as you can see, once we refresh the page, we already have the data populated inside our DOM. So this is a basic integration of, an API inside your front end using Axios. And that being said, that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.